There are a couple of things that are worth knowing about VIF. For one, you can have any expression in here that yields a truthy or falsy value, just as in a regular if statement. In here, you can also check whatever you want, and it will be interpreted as truthy or falsy by JavaScript. You can, of course, also combine conditions here with and or. That works. You can also point at a computed property. You can point at a data property. You can execute a method here, as long as that method returns a truthy or falsy value. That is all possible. But besides that, which should be fairly obvious, since it's really just like if in your HTML code, so it works like if in JavaScript, just in HTML. But besides that, there also is another directive you can use in conjunction with VIF. Because of course we don't just want to show this paragraph conditionally, we also want to show the list conditionally. And we only want to show this list if we do have goals. That means we can add VIF on that too, and we can check if goals length is greater than 0. Because only if it's greater than 0, only then we want to show this list. If we save and reload, we therefore only see the paragraph initially. But if I then add a goal, the paragraph disappears and instead we see the list with that dummy goal initially. This works and there's nothing wrong with it. But essentially, this is a little bit like the else case in a JavaScript if statement, right? And there you can also have else and even else if. That's all supported in JavaScript. And Vue also supports this in HTML with its directives. Instead of repeating VIF here, which you can do, but instead of doing that, you can also specify VElse. The only important thing is that VElse has to be used on an element that comes directly after an element with VIF on it. You can't have another element in between. If we have a paragraph in between, that would not work. VElse needs to be used on a direct neighbor element of the element which has VIF. This works, an element in between breaks it. But with that I can reload and get the same behavior as before. Now sometimes you also have scenarios where you have multiple possible conditions. And that's why you also have a VElse if condition, where you can check if goals length is, let's say, greater than 0. And then you could have another element with VElse in case that's not met and that's not met with your fallback content. In this case, that would kick in for a negative length, which of course can't occur, but I'm just showing this as an example. So VIF, VElse if, and VElse can be used to control which parts of your HTML code are really showing up on the final page. And I want to emphasize that it's not just about showing and hiding stuff. It's really about including those elements in the DOM or not including them. It's really about attaching and detaching. If you inspect this paragraph, you of course see that this paragraph is there, but there's no list below it. Now if I add a goal like finish the course, watch what happens when I press the button. Watch here on the right side. You see, now the unread list was added and the paragraph completely disappeared. Now, because of VIF and VElse combined, by the way, Vue also doesn't need the placeholder anymore. But that's just a side note. So that's VIF, and that's very, very, very useful for showing content conditionally, which turns out is something you'll need in a lot of applications you're going to build. And this is how easy it is to implement it with Vue.